we are going to get started on our monochromatic geometrical forms painting. Before we get going on the painting process though, we want to get our paints and our canvas out of the way. We want to work with our reference image. So one, I've already cut these out for you. You have your graphite sticks. I did this with just my pencil, but you have the graphite sticks. So on the back, you are going to flip these over. Boom. I've already done mine just to do this. You are going to take these graphite sticks, and if you kind of notice, I didn't do over the entire image. You guys are going to do them over where the objects are on the front. If you don't know this trick, trust the process. Once we get going on here, it will make sense once we get going. If you know this trick, you know the trick. We'll get going in just a bit. But you're gonna scribble graphite basically over where all the main stuff is at, the pencil basically, or the graphite sticks. Yours is gonna be darker than mine because we have the darker graphite, but we wanna make sure the canvas paper is out of the way, so make sure your canvas paper is out of the way, as well as your paints, paintbrush, whatever, keep it out of the way, scribble. I'm gonna pause the video right now, scribble, get it covered, and when you guys are ready, we will continue on. So, scribble, 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 scribble. Okay, so let's get going. Front of our reference image. So let's get this out of the way. Okay, we are ready to move forward. So we are going to, let me get my paints out of the way, get my area clean and make sure I stay in the shot this time. Okay. Awesome. Okay. We're going to take our masking tape. Just need to find the end, and we are going to tape this down and make sure we get our image stays put into, we get a nice clean edge with it. They should pretty much cover it up. It's fine if they don't completely, like mine don't completely, it's fine. But I do have a little bit of extra, and that's perfect, so I'm gonna just do this in a couple different spots, just tape. Tape. And I'm not gonna do it everywhere. You guys are gonna notice, so I'm gonna do it probably, boom, right here. And I'm really pressing this to make sure it lays flat is the key. We want it to lay really nice and flat onto my canvas paper. I'm not gonna tape this everywhere because I wanna be able to check this. Okay, we can do this with our pencil, but I actually like to do it with a pen is my favorite, but I'll just do it with pencil because that's what I have for right now. So we're gonna trace over everything, all of our main lines, main shapes, but also our main value areas. So I'm gonna zoom into our main areas for you guys to see. So, like, we'll go, because I'm a righty, so I'm gonna go left to right just for the sake of it. So I also see this edge right here, and then boom, this is where the cube goes. Just get my main lines, main edges. We also want to try to move kind of quick, you guys, just for sake of time. But in case you're wondering, what are we doing? Why? What is happening? So, because we have graphite on the back side of this paper, and we are pressing with our pen or pencil, whatever we're drawing with right now, in this specific point that we are drawing with. And I'm also going to do these shadows. Sorry, I'm gonna keep like interrupting myself and keep telling you guys what to do. interrupting myself. Oh my gosh, how ironic. Okay. But I'm also doing like little shadowy areas. I'm gonna move over. I just did like that little line. But transfer process. This point of my pencil, whenever I'm drawing over this drawing or reference image, and because there's graphite on the back of it, eventually when I lift this up, our lines, our drawings, whatever we're drawing right now is going to transfer. I promise you. And if you know this, you know. But we want to do basically, as you know, main lines. So I'm moving on to my cylinder right now. Edge of the cylinder. And if you mess up NBD, like I just kind of messed up my circle a little bit, I just go in and I keep redrawing till I get the right edge. But right here in this cylinder part, there's kind of like 2 shadow, or actually kind of like 3 shadow. I mean, you can keep going with however you want to like guide yourself for where the fade goes with the shadow. This is like our instructions for when the painting process is happening. So don't feel bad about this tracing. I call it cheating. I tell my students I teach them how to cheat with this. But the Renaissance painters like Da Vinci, Rembrandt, all of those guys, they use what was called the camera obscura, which they just traced what they saw outside onto a canvas. Okay, but anyway, I'm moving on to this cylinder. So what you might be seeing is a gradient like the gradient translate from light to dark. I hope you are seeing that. So what I want to do is maybe draw some semicircle lines of where that gradient starts to fade. Now, if you don't know how light works, I know how light works. On the right hand side of the circle, the very right hand side, near where it gets really dark, it is going to be a little bit lighter. In the middle right here, it's going to be the darkest part of the circle. That's called the core shadow area. Right here's the darkest part of the area of the circle. Right here, it's going to be a little bit lighter. And we're going to talk about values when we start mixing our paint. But that's what I want to do, is like guide myself, help myself out as much as possible. So I'm also drawing some shadowy areas right here. Like, help yourself out. But it doesn't need to be anything crazy, just easy peasy guides. Looks really messy right now. If you did the apple last week, it's gonna look kind of like that. Okay, but I'm ready to remove this. I'm gonna zoom out. Oop. So press. Didn't get enough graphite on the bottom of my paper, so I need to draw on the bottom of my square. Okay, I got it though. Okay, but there's my scene up here. I'll darken it really quick so you guys can see. I'll do a time lapse. But I'm gonna just set this off camera. You guys need to have your reference photo right next to you at all times. But I'm just gonna darken the outsides real quick so you guys can see. I'll do a real quick time lapse. Cool, okay. Ready to start painting. So I'm also going to tape this in place, just so I don't move this. You guys can tape yours in place as well if you want to make sure you get a nice, like, clean, crisp edge, if that's something that interests you. And also, hopefully you are making sure that you are transferring on the side with the X. I'm gonna make sure I put that in the instructions right off the bat. So I'm gonna move that down a smidge. Cool. Cool, let's start painting. Okay, I'm going to mix my paints on camera, but you guys should not do this over top. So I'm going to lay my paper towel over top. You should mix your paints over on the side. But I'm gonna mix my paints right here so you can see. But I'm gonna be doing blue as my colors, or my values, I should say, for this painting. But really, we need to have 5 distinct different values within this painting to make sure we hit the criteria. But if you have a good painting, you're gonna have way more than that. So I cleaned my palette. You don't have to do that. If your paints are dry, that's great. If you have an open area in the middle, great. If you don't, just make room somewhere and we'll make do. I just had a dry palette, so I just scraped it, basically, because I waited a week. So I have a lot of blue right here because I'm gonna be mixing a lot of value for this painting. So all of the values that we're going to see are going to have blue. Oops, got a little on my finger. Are going to have blue in them, even from our black, which is going to look black, but is going to have blue in it. So I'm gonna put a good amount of black in my little cubby area. I might even put another small dollop of black for, so I'm gonna do like a rating system. So this would be like my number 3 value. This is gonna be like my 5, my dark. This would be like my number 4. I'm gonna mix this one. I'm gonna start getting with my white, my number 1 value ready, and my number 2 value ready. And then I'm gonna start painting, and within those 5 values, I'm going to make more values as well. So that's gonna be probably my number 1, and this is probably going to be my number 2 as well. I'm gonna use the same amount of white, but I'll mix more blue in. I'll probably end up needing more blue. I'll probably add more black there as well. So I'm using about like a quarter size. Let's start with that. So before you guys get paint, quarter size, I'll put that in the instructions. So quarter size for this. And that probably will be more than enough. So I'm just gonna clear my workspace, boom. Paint over here. And let me start mixing my colors. Okay, so I'll do my light really quick. So with this, oops, my paintbrush is not very good. So I have just like a small, and I might even, I'm gonna wipe some off. Small, tiny little dollop of blue I'm gonna even wipe some more off. Small, tiny little dollop for that big amount of white for right now. So I'm gonna mix that in because I want my light to be really, really, really light, just for it to be like an off white with a hint of blue. And you guys really need to keep your paint like together as much as you can. So really try to dollop it together, excuse me, wowza. Dollop it together and keep it together so it doesn't dry out. Okay, so now I'm gonna take more blue. So now I have more blue and mix it into this one. So now I'm gonna have darker blue. And I do want it to be like definitely a bigger step up. So I probably will even add more. Yeah, because white does neutralize the color a lot. Like, it is still pretty light. See how it just like neutralizes it? Just like, whoop. It's getting there. That's pretty close. Just maybe like one more swipe. That's what I like. Just like a little in between. Okay, so that's good. So I'm gonna really try to get as much of the paint off of my brush, and I'm really gonna try to keep that dollop together as much as possible. So I can always just like get it when I need it. Because you need to think like surface area, because if it's spread out, it's gonna dry fast with acrylic paint. Okay, so, ooh, I might take a little bit of black and just like put it over here because I feel like that's a little too much. We're gonna take a lot of blue. We're gonna need a lot of blue. But you know what I did wrong? I did the telltale, made the rookie mistake of putting the weaker into that. So I'm just even gonna use that as my 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's gonna probably be my 5. So we'll get my solid blue. Okay. I'll just make sure I use a good amount of blues. Just not thinking, trying to rush. Sometimes even I make mistakes, so I'll put my solid blue right there. Boom. Okay. That's a lot of paint for this little paint, but that's okay. We have a lot of paint. That's okay. So, when we are doing a painting, how we want to start is we want to work in layers and farthest away and then move forward. So therefore, background first. And our background is really dark. Now, in this class, we're trying to learn this. We're working from this reference image. We're trying to copy this reference image. Remember, for your guys' project, if you want to do a painting, you totally can. You can do whatever you want. But for this, we're trying to match this. So we're going to match it. So this is a really dark image, or dark background. So I'm going to take my really, really, really dark blue. So this is like my 4-5. And I have my square brush, which I really like because this is nice clean edges. So I'm gonna start by going around the edges of my objects with my nice locking of my wrist using my shoulder elbow to make sure I get a nice clean line for my objects. And then I'll switch directions when I need to and go around my sphere. And what we need to do, and ideally, is we should not have any of like the open pores, I would like to call it, of the canvas showing through. So once we get that nice clean edge, that clean hard edge, as we learned with our techniques, then we just pull the paint away from that line and side to side because it's our background. And if we need to grab more paint, just grab more paint, which I did. And since I have a painted taped edge, I'm not gonna worry about going off. I'm just gonna control it. And then same thing right here. Clean. And if you want to, you can do your square brush, you can turn it. Instead of going flat, like the fat edge, you could do the thin edge. Don't get offended if I say that, sorry. It's how you think of it. To get that nice clean line. But you definitely need to lock your wrist, and it's easier to pull towards you in painting than pushing away. So you just learn that eventually with time. So I'll do it right here with the cone. Just boom, pull. And I'm running out of paint right there. I'll show you the pores. See how you can see the pores of the canvas? That's not nice. So I need to re-up on my paint. And then I go back up and re-pull through. And just lighten up, and voila. And then I'll zoom back out. Pull side to side with the paint, with my dark, fill it in. Just keep turning the flat brush side to side, filling it in. If you need to re-up on your paint, re-up. And then you just keep filling in your background. But this is why you need to master the locking of the wrist to get that nice clean edge, just because it just speeds up your process eventually. Because once you get that nice clean line, and then voila, fill it. Oop, out of frame, of course. Once you get that nice clean line, then you just fill it in like coloring. And that's why we have a big brush, big area, side to side, fill in. Oops, got a little bit into my cone, so if I do that, which sometimes I mess it up, which if I do that as well too, which a dark one, which I don't want to really leave that with the painting as well too. So I just wetted this brush and dried it so it's not like sopping wet. So I'm just gonna wipe that off. Dried it, cleaned it, dried it, and just tried to pull the paint off of that area. Just so it's not thick right there. Cool. See, I mess up all the time too. Let's fill in. And it's fine if your paintings have some texture to it, like I have some thick paint. I love that with the painting. I think that's pretty. Okay, background's done pretty fast. Awesome. If you have some thin spots, just go back, fill it in real quick, because acrylic paint dries pretty fast. And then we are ready for our first forms. So these forms are pretty light, except for the forms that are in the shadows. So we have some that are in shadows, which they're definitely not going to be as dark as our background shadows, but they do have some shadows to them. Okay, now color value for these forms, I would say at most let's start with our cone, and let's start with our 3, so our mid value. So with our mid value, we're gonna go in actually. Let's go in right where the bottom is at, because that's about, yeah, I would say that's about a mid value right there. So we want to push this up. But this shadow, so this shadow is really interesting because it's right about the top, like quarter-ish. And then we'll come back to this shadow eventually in just a bit. Okay. Now let's go up to the top of the cone. So let's go in with like your number 2 value. And we're gonna go in to the right side to right by the highlight. So we're gonna go in right there with our 2 value, and then we're gonna push that towards the right. So when you're painting, direction is so important. And if we go into our background, not a big deal. We will literally clean it up later. Literally clean it up later. If you need, you can flip your brush if you get a little bit messy like I did. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna skip over and I'm gonna go over to the left side of the cone. And one, I should do a nice clean hard edge line. You should too. Then drag that towards the middle. I'm just drying off my brush. I'm not even cleaning it with water. Then I'm gonna go in with my 1 right in the middle. And I'm just blotting it with paint. A little bit too much, so I'm gonna just take some off. So not even that. And I'm just push it up. Just follow the cone. And then push it to the right. I can always go back in and grab some more of my brush. Push it to the right. Push it to the left. Oops, got a little bit on my brush. Direction is so important with painting. Ooh, I keep getting it on my brush. We'll cover it up. Gotta watch it. But if you do mess up, not a big deal. Okay, and then we are gonna even do this one value over on this very right-hand side. You're probably wondering, Riley, why? So one, let's do a nice hard edge. So I'm gonna do this one value, doing the skinny side, dragging it all the way down. Even a little bit into the shadow, trying to do a nice clean thin line into the shadow, and then dragging it into the right side. And sometimes I'll even drag my finger over top of it to blend. But that one spot I do not like, so I'm gonna just go back in with my number 2 value right now and just touch it up a little bit. Because I don't like that bright white spot. Then I'll go back with my little bit of that normal blue. Right back over top of it with my shadow. Cone. Let's keep going. Okay, cylinder. So cylinder is really, really, really bright over on this left-hand corner. So I'm gonna leave it this, I'm gonna go straight in with my number 1 actually right here and drag it down over to the right. Follow this edge to the left, and then I forgot to do that shadow line, but it's right here. Boom. I'm gonna tell you guys to do it and just keep dragging it to the right, and make sure you guys paint in this curved format. Beautiful. Okay, gonna clean my brush. Oops, fill that in right there. Okay, that's about a 3 right here too. So I'm gonna drag the line down. So this is how you guys should be thinking about, okay, what is the value? So 1, I'm gonna get my nice clean edge right there. That's really important. What is the line? And I guess I can do that later too when I work that shape. And then just go lightly over top. Dry brush to do that layering. Layering, shadow. And then I'm gonna do that number 3 again right here, but this time I'm gonna go paint up and down. And make sure I get that nice hard edge. Skinny edge right there. Oops, gotta fix that corner. So I'm gonna go right over it with this is why I love acrylic paint. You guys can fix it so easily. Shadow, okay, and then up top I would definitely say it's probably like a number 4, so I'm gonna do a number 4. Definitely need to do a nice clean edge. But as we get to the right side of the top, it does get a little bit lighter. So I'm gonna go back in with my number 2, clean up the edge. And touch it up. Okay, now we can start moving forward, and then this will make these shapes really come alive. So let's go to the sphere. So I'm gonna just clean my brush. And actually, let's do a little bit of overlay because they need a little bit right there. So I'm gonna do just a little bit of blue right here. Love doing some shadowy stuff. And I'm gonna go back in and just do some nice highlights on my cone. Make them pop. Okay, now I'm ready for my sphere. Okay, so I'm gonna go in. So spheres, it's really important you guys paint in this rounded format. So I'm going out with this, starting in the 1. Now I'm gonna go to my number 2. In this one, I am gonna do kind of this rough. Definitely need a clean edge for this. Okay, so going with my number 2. Lock the wrist. Just lock in, follow your eye. Keep just following. And I'll just follow with my brush and fade it out. Then I'm just going back with my light and kind of softly blend them. But direction, so important. Okay, then let's go in still 2. And let's go in, here's 3. Oops. Touch it up later, not worried. Okay. We gotta paint in this rounded format for this sphere. It's so important. But this sphere is not dark at all because it's in front. So I got a little bit too much paint, so I'm gonna go back, fade it out. But then now it's gonna go back to like a little bit more of a 2 and just fade out. And die. I'll just try to blend these edges a little bit. These colors. Really soft application with the brush, and I like a messy paint color or paint kind of brush-ish. Once I get the shadows in, it'll really come alive. But I like that. That's a pretty good sphere. Okay, let's do the cube. Okay, so we got a light side. That's pretty much a 1 right here. So I'm gonna Nice good edge right here, boom. 2. So we want to make sure nobody sees our pencil. That's really important. Nobody knows how we got this amazing painting. They just see the amazing painting. And then I'm going to just bring a little bit of a 2 in the back corner. I'll touch that up later. Oops, dropped my pen. Okay, this front side definitely would say it's more of a 3 and fades to a 2 over here. Definitely pay attention to the direction. I would definitely go side to side with this cube. Oops, we'll get that edge in later. Okay, but we gotta get that nice, clean, crisp edge as before, and then fill in. Okay, and then pull and fill in side to side. But make sure you can't see those pores. Okay, that's pretty nice. Top of it. Definitely. I think it's more of a 2 on top. Let's hit more light. And then, really important, there's a really nice bright highlight for the front of the cube. And the edge. And we also need highlight in the middle. Okay, we also need, okay, dark shadow, probably like a four at least. Now, really important, you get a nice clean edge. I'm gonna have to clean that up just a sec. It's gonna be like a 2 probably. But underneath the sphere is like a 4 or 5. So I'm gonna just go in with the skinny side of the sphere. And then just pull, actually I'm just gonna go in. Go Go over, pull. Go over, pull. Go over, pull. Okay, let's go on with our 2. We want to get that separation. Side to side. Nice clean line. Shadow. Shadow. Just need to clean up. I'm gonna switch to my round brush though, for details. So I'm gonna go nice fine round brush now. Okay, I'm just gonna work on the glow of the cone a little bit. So I'm gonna go in with the thinner white and just pull. Clean my brush, dry it off, and then just kind of pull it in. And just try to pull it. That I like a lot better. There we go. That looks better. And then I just want a little bit more glow with the cylinder too. A little bit of water. Just to thin it down. And then I'm gonna clean up this edge. Clean up this. This is like, I need a dark. Oops. Dark, 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 dark. Let's clean up edges. Okay. Just need to touch up that one little back edge. I don't like that. And okay, let's remove the tape. Happy with it.